When it comes to looking back at older cartoons, especially ones from before I was born, it's always interesting to see the differences from back then to now. However, some things have always been the same, and for animation, that one thing has always been shitty love triangles. Today we'll be covering Love and Cheese from Hey Arnold. The episode revolves around Arnold trying to get this girl here, Lila, to like him, and you're gonna hear that term a lot in this episode, so get ready. I should point out that before we begin, this episode is actually one in a series. In the previous episode, Arnold and Lila, Arnold, after a lot of miscommunication, comes to realize that he likes Lila, but she doesn't feel the same way. I chose to do this episode first instead of that one because this one actually covers a lot of bases that the episode previous to it skipped over, and thus I had a lot more to say about it. I also kind of stole the idea from Berlizzi, but anyway. The episode begins with Arnold and Gerald on the bus. With Arnold saying that the cheese festival is in town on Saturday, Gerald seems very disinterested, and I can't blame him. If I were being told about a cheese festival, I wouldn't be the most eager person in the world either. What does pique his attention is when Arnold says this.
And I was thinking maybe I'd invite Lila to go with me.
Lila? She doesn't like you. She just likes you.
But if I invite her to the cheese festival and we have a really good time together, maybe she'll start to like me.
Gerald in this episode plays a very minor role. In fact, he doesn't have any more speaking roles in this episode after this scene, but he does act as the voice of reason to Arnold here. He's kinda like Rigby in a sense, where he's the self-aware one who sees the problem at hand, and Arnold, who in this comparison is Mordecai, doesn't necessarily take those into consideration. It's a very basic dynamic, but one that works for what it needs to do. Arnold begins to fantasize about how his date with Lila would go, and it's just as down bad as you think. He's lucky he's not on Mordecai levels, cause otherwise I would have gone off. Like, really, Arnold? You think people want to see the homies kissing?
Negro, please!
So they play up another classic trope where Arnold is very nervous to ask Lila out, and he practices what he's going to say to her. I do want to make it clear that whenever I point out these cliches or tropes, it's not a bad thing per se. The reasons cliches exist is so that writers have something to fall back on to make a story more easy to digest. If no piece of media followed any cliches that have been made since film was invented, then a lot of the best stories ever told would have never been made. I simply point them out because in some cases they are functional, and in some cases they aren't, and might even come across as heavy-handed. Here though, it is fine. I don't really have an issue with it, although it could have been removed and nothing about the episode would have changed.
There's something really important that I have to do, and I'm just a little nervous. I gotta go.
Arnold, what a dope, what a dimwit, what a deluded little do-goody dreamer.
There's not really much I can say about Helga in this episode. She kinda just does her usual thing, pretending she hates Arnold, yet at the same time saying some absolutely profound shit that no child has ever said in the history of ever. Unfortunately for her, she gets interrupted by the sound of a man about to fumble his way into getting a date. I really want to analyze this one bit by bit, because this is truly just absolutely horrendous. Just watch.
So anyway, this Saturday, it's the
cheese festival?
Yeah, the cheese festival. And it should be a lot of
Fun?
Yeah, fun.
Immediately, this man is already fumbling basic sentences and has to get help from the person he's asking out to ask her out. It's kind of like that one scene from Regular Show where Mordecai wanted to ask Margaret to the movies, except in that scene, Mordecai wasn't getting any assistance, which made it even more unbearable to watch.
Arnold, are you trying to ask me to go to the cheese festival with you on Saturday?
Yes!
Is it just me? Or did this man sound like he was about to bust the fattest nut when he said yes? Like, bro, calm down. You should not even be that excited, because Lila's response to that shameful attempt is that she supposes it could be fun. And she doesn't even say that she'd like to go with Arnold, just that she would like to go to the cheese festival. I also like how the first thing they do after all that is go to the vending machine, where Arnold buys her something, and not a single word is shared. Not even a thank you from Lila. This shit was whack. So naturally, Poe's mad, and Helga decides to take it upon herself to ruin his date. But as we go on to see, the episode tries to do something clever with this, but spoiler alert, it doesn't work, for a lot of reasons as well.
See, the object is to ram the other cars as hard as you can.
Oh, but that seems ever so mean.
It's not mean, it's just fun.
Couldn't we just drive along and enjoy the view?
but we'll be sitting ducks.
Exhibit A. Here, Arnold cares more about the carnival and the games than actually achieving what he set out to do, which was impress his crush. I don't exactly know why Arnold would be so stubborn here. If you were to put yourself in his shoes, and you wanted to get someone to like you, then surely you would, I don't know, try and do what they want to do. And I'm not saying that Arnold should be a pushover and just roll with everything she says, but at least showing that he wants her to have fun would probably be a good idea, just saying. She should not be the one convincing him to have fun. And when Helga slams into their car, she doesn't even care, because Arnold was a good boy and didn't slam into the others, like the Mary Sue that she is. Then we get this scene where Arnold tries to win a stuffed animal for Lila.
He's adorable, isn't he?
Maybe I could win it for you.
There is so much shit in this one scene that I have to go through. It's actually insane. First and foremost, Arnold is a bitch. This man is hitting the bottles with immaculate accuracy, and instead of telling the guy that there's something wrong with the bottles, he just takes it. He is made submissive and breedable by Lila, who just has to give him a look, which is enough to make this man spend more money on a carnival game that I've seen 7-year-olds win in one attempt. Second, I find it hard to believe that none of them see the sheer amount of glue that's on those bottles. It could be one of those things that the audience should see, but the actual characters can't, but that's not an excuse. There's just no way they're that blind. Thirdly, remember that clip I showed you before, where Lila says that she really wants the teddy bear? Well, that doesn't even matter anymore, because apparently, she's allergic to stuffed animals, and she prefers turtles over bears anyway.
It's much better than a big teddy bear. I'm allergic to stuffed animals anyway.
Bitch, what? You are actually bugging. Why would she make him do all this for no reason other than to waste his money? She saw the thing she wanted and knew exactly what it was. A stuffed bear, but doesn't feel the need to mention that she can't even get it because of her allergies. Arnold is being played here, and he's oblivious to it. I actually feel bad for this man, and you might even be thinking, well, Lila's enjoying the date, so it doesn't even matter. And you would almost be right. Almost. The episode tries to pull off this idea where Helga tries to ruin the date, but actually does more good than harm, which is fine as a concept, but in practice, there's something very small that ends up ruining that idea. And that one small thing is Lila.
I sometimes get a little queasy on the big rides.
Don't worry, I've been on this ride before, and it's not that bad.
They say you should crank the speed up to really high.
Oh, I don't feel so good.
Oh! Lila is not a character. Lila is a plot device. Think about it. Up until this point, she hasn't been given any concrete or noticeable character traits that should convince me that Arnold isn't wasting her time with her. She's a Mary Sue, who's all nice and perfect and doesn't like hurting others, sure. But other than that, can you tell me anything else about her character other than saying the words ever so much every 5 seconds? She's written for the sake of this stupid love triangle that was already done in the first season with Arnold and Ruth. The only reason she doesn't find a problem with this horrible date, where she's thrown up and been let down multiple times, is because she's written to have Arnold win, no matter how obviously he's taking massive L's. All those W's he's been taking have not been through any of his work. They've all been through the sheer luck that Lila isn't meant to act how an actual human with logic is supposed to act. She's like Trixie from the Fairly Odd Parents, where no matter what Timmy, or in this case Arnold, does, the same result is going to be expected, and the same result will always happen. So why should I care about any of this? Because even the chase of Arnold trying to get with Lila isn't entertaining to me, so that argument doesn't work. I'm not getting any enjoyment out of watching this man get played by this fake-ass Chloe before she moved to Dimsdale.
Look, Arnold, it's a boat ride.
Yeah, it's the tunnel of love.
Can we go?
If you really want to, but are you sure you're feeling well enough?
Oh yes, Arnold. Thanks to you.
Thanks to him, this man did nothing to stop you throwing up. I just love how the episode wants to make you believe that Arnold is doing a good job, like I don't see through it. Also, do note that Lila is the one who points out the tunnel of love. Upon your first viewing of this episode, you would think that this is a signal that she might be warming up to Arnold and that his plan is working. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. But let me not get ahead of myself. I also like how Gerald passes by the screen, clearly having a better time than Arnold with this date. We just stand Gerald here.
Don't worry, Lila. You're perfectly safe with me.
And then the opposite happens.
Our boat is sinking.
Gotta love how they just sit there as the boat sinks and they do nothing. And the fact that they just so happen to mention that Lila can't swim before having her get in a situation where she might drown. Granted, it ends up being a fake waterfall, but the episode wants to make you forget that for a while until they try to play it off as a joke later. So really there was no point in her even saying that, because all it does is create artificial tension for a scene that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of the episode. Alright, I gotta stop doing that. It's just really funny to me, okay? So Arnold swims to Lila's rescue before revealing that the water was knee deep, which makes me wonder how Arnold was even able to swim like this, but I digress. Lila calls Arnold brave for saving her dumbass, which again makes no sense because of the last sentence I just said, and Arnold finally asks if she's starting to like him.
To be just perfectly honest, no.
But there's hope, right?
Oh yes, Arnold, just ever so much.
So really, this entire episode was built up for that scene. Just for Lila to say that there's hope? Just for us, the audience, to not even get any kind of satisfactory answer? Crazy. So that was Love and Cheese. This episode is kinda dumb. It ruins the whole concept of Arnold even needing Lila's affection, because we're never really shown why she's ideal for him, and the way that the episode is written tries to force the idea that Arnold chasing her is worthwhile, when it's not. Arnold is not the hero he's portrayed to be at the end, which was actually a really weird and out of place moment in the episode, when looking at it in hindsight. We're not given any reason to root for him, or any of his fruitless efforts. It just kinda sucks. I hope you got more enjoyment from watching me rail on this episode than you would have got from actually watching it yourself though. Thanks for watching, click here to see my previous review of Mau Mau, and take care.